Hey everybody, it's Jorik. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. Today I want to make this video. It's going to be more of a managing expectations video, but I wanted to relay to you information that I've received in talking to a number of people this year who had moved to Portugal on whatever visa or situation that they were in, and then have moved back to their home country. And that's just in 2023 of making this video. Some of the people I've actually worked with and done some consulting with in 2021 or 2022. So they'd been here a year or two and then they decided it just wasn't for them. I'll leave that in loose terms. I want to go through some of the details and reasons that they've given. There have been some consistent themes that I want you to know about so that when you're looking to make a decision to move here, you give a lot of thought and weight into these, because I think out of the 23 people that I spoke to, all of them had three in common, and then I'll go into one a group from a particular country had another concern that just didn't really get resolved. So first things first, spoke to 23 people since January of 2023, 14 Americans, 5 Canadians, 3 from the UK, and 1 Australian. And of that demographic, those 23 people, the number one thing that led to them, and this was common amongst all of them from different countries, to move back was rents. And not just in Lisbon. Now, a handful of these people were living in Greater Lisbon, but also Porto, the Algarve. I'll say the big three areas of Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve. From what I had gathered, they had all signed 1-year lease agreements, or they were working on their second-year agreement or working on year 3. They were fulfilling their lease obligation, whether it be a 1, 2, 3 year. And then come renewal, or we were renegotiating what they were looking to do if they wanted to stay in the same place or move someplace else, is that they were finding oftentimes the rents were being doubled. In many cases, it was at least 50%, if not 100% more, to stay in the same property or move to a similar property in the same district or area that they were in. And I think that they were surprised by that. The people in Lisbon, I don't think they should have been, because rents have been going up, and I think everybody that does content about Portugal have been talking about Lisbon rents. But I was a little surprised by the Algarve and Porto, where people were really trying to, I think, make up for maybe not being able to rent out their property during the pandemic. I think some of the landlords were getting a little greedy. So that's the number one most common theme amongst all of these people of why they made a decision to move back, because from a cost of living standpoint, rent is going to be the biggest number out there. So it makes sense from that perspective. But I want to make sure, just from managing expectations, when you're looking here, just understand that rents continue to keep going up, especially for new and newly renovated properties. And I don't think even in small outlying areas that's going to change much. It's going to keep going up as more people consider to move to Portugal. The number two thing, and I'm going to say this is American specific, tax uncertainty. So those of you that are not from the US, you can skip through this part and get to the next reason. But those of you from the US, many of you ask, well, what are you paying in taxes? What's your situation? And I don't respond, and I just say everyone's tax situation is different. And I'm not trying to dodge the question, but telling you how much we pay in taxes does you zero good when making a determination on how much we pay or owe in Portugal and how much we pay or owe in the US. As those of you from the US know, you have tax liability on all income, foreign and domestic, unlike other countries. So because of that, I tell people who move here or are thinking about moving from the United States, give it 2 tax cycles. You got to be here 2 years to have a feeling of really what you're getting into in Portugal, potential tax liability, and back home. And part of why I'm saying that is in your first year here, you may have property sales, dividends or mutual funds, stocks, things that you're selling off in the United States. And then when you're moving here, that first tax year is taking that into account. So that isn't necessarily an accurate representation of what year to year taxes would look like, because you had a lot of volatility and movement in the US before you got here. So the second tax season might be a better representation of what you can expect to pay on an ongoing basis, provided you don't have any wild swings in income or dividends, things that you're selling off. So as long as you don't have a roller coaster there, maybe that year 2 and year 3 and beyond is the best way to gauge your tax liability, so you can get more certain versus uncertain. The thing is, you got to stay here for a couple of years to be able to find out what that is. So I just want to make sure, again, managing expectations, it's difficult to know ahead of time what your taxes are going to be. You almost have to be here and live through it and experience it, and then get your baseline and then figure out what that looks like in future years. Number 3, this was common. Everyone made a comment about this, from regardless of what country they are from and went back to. Family ties. The family situation really pulled them. They missed family or family members more so than they thought. And I'll say part of that, and I'd say about 6 cases out of the 23 people that I talked to, it was because there was somebody who fell ill. Let's say a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, someone in their immediate family. So it was going to be, they wanted to not just go back, let's say, right near the end of a situation. They wanted to go back and be with their family or that person while they were going through treatment. And that's very understandable. That's something I don't think we gave enough thought to when we were looking to move here. We felt like we were going to miss family, miss our immediate, but also friends as well. But to their point, if we get a phone call saying, hey, something's going on, and it's not just you need to come home now for something, but somebody has a situation, it's chronic, or it might be several months or a year or two, we might consider, moving back, depending on what the situation is. So I would say, again, managing your expectations, thinking about family, what your situation is. If you don't have immediate family, then it makes it easier to move because you're not necessarily pulled back or have a family tie to go back to. But this was a common theme as well, that either they just missed their friends, their kids, their parents, whatnot, more than they felt like when they were making the decision to leave, or there was an immediate situation that drove them back. Lastly, this is one that I got from probably 18 of the 23 people here as I had conversations. Customer service in Portugal. And it's hard to put my finger on, but I understand where they're coming from. And it's not whether you know the language or not. I will say if you make an effort to learn some Portuguese, it does help. But getting responses to emails, getting someone to call you back, getting someone on the line and not having to wait an hour longer to get a customer service representative. When you go to a facility and try to get services rendered and try to speak to customer service representative along the way, it can be difficult. And I would say, again, managing the expectation of you just have to get almost in a vacation mode and realize it's going to be a while. And I would say, I made a video recently about going to the bank. Go earlier, much better than midday or later in the day. Customer service as well. Found that when you start calling first thing in the morning, or you start showing up to a place as soon as it opens, you're able to get in and have less issues than the longer you wait in the day. The longer the physical line seems to be, and the longer the wait time is, either through an email, like chatting, or on a customer service line if you're doing a phone call. So that's something that came up. Sometimes they were calling it bad customer service, and I will say the tap the airline here. I don't think anyone's ever going to give them a customer service award ever, so I can understand that. But in general, on a day-to-day basis, we don't feel like the customer service is a reason why we would want to leave here. Some days you get good service, some days you don't get any service. But it's not a daily occurrence where we're bombarded with bad service. It just happens to be, if you need to use a lot of customer service, realize and just understand it may take you longer to get through to somebody and get a response. That's all that is. But it is something that I want to make sure that if you feel like your country where you're coming from has impeccable service and things are always on top of it, and that means everything from going to a restaurant and having someone take your order and check on you a dozen times. If that's your experience and what your expectation is, coming to Portugal, it is vastly different than that. Also, regular customer service may be different than your home country. So realizing and being open to what customer service is like here, as opposed to expecting the service or people in Portugal to mold and be like where you're from, I think that's not a manageable expectation. So just realize, understand you're coming to a new country, relax, take a deep breath, kind of enjoy the challenges along with the good days and bad. But I wanted to give this to you because hopefully as you're making the decisions in 2023 and beyond to move here, give a lot of consideration to these reasons. Not a lot of reasons, but make sure you talk through with your family and those of you that are moving here so that you have a good understanding and maybe a clear picture of what will keep you in Portugal and what might be the deal breakers and what may make you leave or move back to your home country. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video and enjoy your travels.